My life.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. This is African Black Gold TV, where we showcase Africans who are doing amazing things in the diaspora, especially, um, Africans who are changing the narratives in a positive way in the diaspora. Today, we've got one of our solicitor is right here with us today. My name is Mr. Charles Dinson. I don't know if I pronounce it well, but anyway, I'm going to leave the mic for him as well to introduce himself. Today's topic is going to be about immigrations, stuff there that is to visit, the do and don't, when you want to get a visiting visa to the UK. I'm going to leave you over to our guest of the day, that is Mr. Adas. Mr. Adas, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, sir.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're watching from or where you're joining us from. So my name is Carlos Addison from RS Solicitors in Oxford. RS Solicitors are an SRA regulated firm. So we're regulated by the Solicitors Regulatory Authority in England, in the United Kingdom, but specifically in England. And we specialize in UK immigration law, criminal law, civil litigation, family, employment, commercial contract. Those are our main areas of specialty. Thanks once again for having us on, and we hope you find this talk useful. So I'll hand you over back to the host.
Yeah, if I may ask, how long have you been in practice? And because, like when I introduce the platform, it's a kind of Africans in the diaspora who are doing amazing things. Yeah, if you want, if you want to help us, just to give us a kind of a brief journey of yours, because sometimes when they see Africans that he's a solicitor, people think like, what's going on there? A solicitor in UK? Do you study in the UK, or you study all the way from Africa and then back to the UK and then you pick it up from there, sir?
Okay, sure. So I moved to the UK in 1996. So I studied in the UK, sixth form, university, training, everything. So pretty much, yes, most of part of my secondary education was in Ghana in Africa. Then the rest was in the UK. So I was in Wales for a bit. Then I moved to England, Bristol, Northampton, Oxford. So yes, I've been working in Northampton, Oxford, London, and Manchester as well. In terms of law, I've been in the field for, I'd say, 14 years now. The firm itself has been going for about 50 something. It's almost 57 years, the firm. But I mean, our principal has been in law for almost 60 years. So, I think and I've been in law for 14 years, about 14, going on 15 years myself personally. Yes.
Yeah. And like I said, the topic of today is about visiting visa to the UK, because a lot of people, they tend to mix the whole thing up when they say visiting visa. Some things are maybe it's a kind of a permanent residence when they enter UK. And what are the do and don't if people want to move into UK? What kind of advice will you advise them?
Okay, thank you. So for a visit visa, it's different from most types of visas. When I say it's different, yes, every visa category is different. But what sets a visit visa apart from your standard family visa or family reunion visa is the fact that there is no right of appeal. So it behoves the applicant to make sure their I's are dotted, their T's are crossed, their ducks are in a row. So do's and don'ts. The clues in the name of visit visa. You state into the Home Office that you come into the UK to visit. When you visit somebody, the intention is that you go back. When I visit you, the intention is that at the end of the duration of my visit, I go back to my house. Your house is not my permanent place of abode. I'm only there temporarily. Now that's if I visited you in the Netherlands. Say I lived in the Netherlands and then I say travel from say from Rotterdam, I don't know, to another part of Netherlands, basically. Yeah, to visit you. The expectation is that I go back. Now in this instance, the applicant intends to travel across countries, hence the need for a visa. A visa in normal parlance or in standard speak, everyday speak, is permission. That's all it is. You're asking for permission. So to enter another country. So in this case, you're asking for permission to visit somebody or to visit another country. By definition, the fact that you're asking for permission, it's safe to say that you don't have a right of entry. If you had a right, you wouldn't ask for it. When you go into your house, you don't ask for permission to enter your house. Why? Because
Sure.
you have the right to enter your house. When I'm going to the same is applicable in my case. If I'm coming to your house, I ask for permission, even if you are my next door neighbor. Even if
Yeah.
we live in a block of flats and you're on the first floor, I'm on the second floor or third floor, what I would still ask for permission. Even if you lived right next door to me in a block of flats, I would need permission to enter the flat. By virtue of knocking, I'm asking for permission. Now, so that same principle works, but on a much larger scale when you're traveling from one country to another.
Uh-huh.
Now, so just as when I visit you, the expectation on your end is that I would go back at the end of my sojourn, or at the end of basically however long my visit, the duration of my visit. The same thing holds true for a visitor to the UK. The expectation from the Home Office, which is a branch of government, is that the applicant returns to their home country. Now, the issue is this: 99% of the time, decisions are made based on evidence presented. There is no interview. 99% of the time, the Home Office will not interview you. So a decision, you're asking an entry clearance officer to make a decision based on your paperwork. If you remember, I mentioned that there's an expectation that one returns to his or her home country. Now,
Yeah.
in this instance, because you're not speaking to the person, when you invite me and I speak to you over the phone, I'd say, oh, let's say I'll be there maybe on the 1st of April, I'd leave on the 7th of April back to the UK. That's because we've had a telephone conversation. I've communicated it to you,
Yeah.
verbally or orally. In this instance, there is no interaction with the entry clearance officer. Decisions are made based on evidence presented to the presented in support of the application to the entry clearance officer. So it falls on the applicant to make sure that he or she is presented enough evidence to convince the caseworker that yes, they would return to their home country. And intention, the applicant might say, I genuinely will go back to my country. God knows I'm telling the truth. But the caseworker is not speaking to you. The caseworker, you're asking the caseworker to make a decision based on what you've presented. So what are the do's and the don'ts? The do's primarily is this: demonstrate. Okay, let me break this down a bit. Demonstrate an intention, or at least demonstrate evidence so that the caseworker or entry clearance officer can say that, can reasonably infer based on the paperwork before him or her that yes, that this person is likely to go back. Now, nobody can establish intent 100%. No, only God and the applicant. However, we can draw reasonable conclusions. So what are some of the things the Home Office will look at? The general inference. Okay, the general expectation is that somebody who has a reasonably well-paid job in Africa. So say they're coming from Ghana or Nigeria, they work, say, for Merchant Bank, they earning or Data Bank, the equivalent of let's say £500, okay, $500 a month.
Yeah.
They've been in that role for a year or so. So let's say Babatunde coming from Lagos earns the equivalent of $500 a month. He's been working for Data Bank for over a year. Babatunde earns $500 each month. Babatunde doesn't, let's say he's in receipt of company bonuses and other bonuses to support him. So maybe fuel allowance, this allowance, this allowance. So although Babatunde earns $500 a month and lives in Lagos, in reality, each month he doesn't spend more than $150. Each month he has about $350 left. Now, Babatunde, over the course of a year, is saved $350 a month by 12. So that's 312, 36, 50, 12, 600, $4,200 saved. Babatunde says, I've worked hard for the last 12 months. I want a break. I want to go on a 2-week holiday to the UK. So Babatunde has itinerary. Oh, day one, upon arrival, I'll check into this hotel. I don't know, a cheap hotel, travel lodge, a budget hotel. I've booked, he's booked it. He's evidenced accommodation. So the Home Office know that he's not going to be a burden on the state because he has evidence of accommodation. There are hotels you can book without paying. Most, there are hotels that demand payment. There's some you don't need to pay. Some you probably pay 10 or 20%. Either way, he's demonstrated evidence of accommodation having been arranged. Babatunde has an itinerary. Oh, day one, he's going to go to the London Eye. Day two, he might go to the O2. Day three, visit Arsenal football ground, for a tour. Day four, Buckingham Palace. Day five, he has a rest. Saturday, he's attending an event here. So he has an itinerary of what he's going to do. Babatunde, let's say Babatunde has a wife in Nigeria. He has a child. So now Babatunde has a tie to Nigeria. Why? Because he has family, a wife and a child. Not just that, somebody would argue, but then people leave their families. That's true. But Babatunde has a stable job, stable income. Yeah. So it's reasonable to conclude, not always the case, but reasonableness. We can never establish intent 100%. However, it's reasonable on the balance of probabilities to say that such a person would not leave their reasonably well-paid job in Nigeria and come and start doing cleaning. Not that there's anything wrong with cleaning, but they would have to come and start scraping, doing, working in jobs that pay cash in hand, probably below minimum wage. Basically, they're struggling, because Babatunde, and then again, Babatunde has a house in Nigeria. He's evidenced it. He has a car. He has property. He has this, that. Now, is it reasonable that Babatunde would leave all of that, come and stay in the UK, not even have the right to rent accommodation? Something as basic as that, not have the right to rent, not be able to even volunteer because he's coming on a visa. You can't even volunteer. There's certain engagements he can undertake depending on who he's employed by. But generally, your average visitor cannot even volunteer. So is it reasonable that Babatunde would leave such a relatively reasonable standard of life and then come to the UK and start from the bottom? I say from the bottom because he cannot even rent a place. It doesn't matter how much money he's got. He would fail right to rent checks. Anybody who rents him a property will be breaking the law. If found, could be fined 60,000 or a lot of money. So now,
sorry that I need to come in there. Why would he not be able to rent himself an apartment or a place? Because he has the money, isn't it?
Correct, but I think I can't remember the exact year, but the government, in an effort to tighten up immigration, came up with a phrase. I think it was 2012, Theresa May, when Theresa May was Home Secretary. She came up with the phrase postal environment. The whole idea behind that is to make things so difficult for immigrants. Or illegal immigrants, I should say, not immigrants, illegal immigrants, so that they cannot, quote unquote, survive underground. So now when you're going to open a bank account, even if you have $1 billion, and you're going to deposit in the bank will check your right to be in the UK first. So if you don't have legal status, they wouldn't accept the money because they will be in breach. The same thing when you're going to register with a GP or doctor. The same thing when
Mhm.
you're going to register for school. Of course, not every school would check these things, but the general position is that there is an expectation that
Yeah.
that one checks, and some are more rigorous in their checks than others. So landlords in particular, some landlords in some places would check a lot more rigorously than landlords in a different part of the country. But the rules are the rules. It's a bit like traffic enforcement. Maybe you might have traffic officers in Lagos more, stopping more cars than traffic enforcement in Abuja, but the rules are still the same. You understand? So
Okay.
by law, if he or she has not got the right to be in the country legally, they cannot rent a property. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether they could buy even if they've got enough money to buy the property 100 times over, the landlord
Yeah.
is not, would be breaking the law.
But
So
is it possible? Is it possible I convert my tourist visa to a permanent stay in the UK?
no, the only
Wow.
time, the only time you can come in on a visit visa and switch to anything legally, you cannot switch. However, there are extenuating circumstances. For instance, say Babatunde comes to the UK on a visit visa. Let's say Babatunde's mother is from the Netherlands. She moved to the UK before we left the EU. Babatunde's mother has status under the EU settlement scheme, which is the scheme, that the scheme, it's a scheme which is an offshoot of the withdrawal agreement between the UK and the European Union. Right.
Yeah.
Now, Babatunde's mother is a Dutch citizen in the UK, and
Mhm.
she has status. She was here before we left. She was in the UK before we left the EU,
Yeah.
and she has status, either settled status, which is indefinite leave, or permanent permanent residency under the old system, or
Yeah.
limited leave, which is pre-settled status. Now, if Babatunde comes in on a visit visa, Babatunde can apply and say Babatunde's visa expires. He can apply to the EU settlement scheme. However, he would have to prove dependency because he's over 21. If he's over 21, that is, he would have to prove that he's dependent on his mother, not just here, but in Nigeria as well. Now, bear in mind that Babatunde, prior to coming to the UK, would have said that he's self-sufficient.
Yeah.
On his visa application, he would have brought evidence saying, "Oh, I work at merchant bank or data bank. I earn $500 US." He's already said he earns $500 US a month.
Mm-hmm.
He has $350 at the end of each month spare, saved up over. So in effect, he's contradicting himself. Of course, things can happen. I.e., even millionaires or billionaires can go bankrupt. But the point is, in that instance, because there's a human rights application there, even if
Yeah.
refused, it could go to court, and maybe at court he could be granted. At least he stands a chance. But if
Yeah.
Babatunde just comes on a standard visit visa and he says he wants to switch to a work permit, no, he would have to go back to Nigeria and reapply. Again, if Babatunde comes in, meets somebody, it's only human rights applications that he can do something. So say Babatunde came in, met a girl that he'd known maybe years ago before she left Nigeria for the UK, maybe his ex-girlfriend, and from when he was about 18, the girl's been in the UK for a long time. She's now a British citizen, or she's got indefinite leave, so she's settled, and they rekindle their relationship. And this girl conceives and has a baby. Because of that child, Babatunde can switch. But those are extenuating circumstances. That these are not standard situations. As in, Babatunde cannot just come in on a visit visa and then switch, find a job and say, "Oh, I want to switch to a work permit." No, he would go back. He would have to go back and reapply.
Wow.
So now hold the thought of Babatunde there. Now we have another person. Okay. So now, okay. Babatunde is person one with a job. Now
Mm-hmm.
we have another person, okay, Chidere, who hasn't got a job. He's graduated about 3 years ago. He can't find a job. He's been unemployed. He's not really had any. He has little jobs here, hand to mouth, little jobs
Yeah.
here. Chidere has no income. No stable source of income, regular source of income. Chidere
Yeah.
has no property. Chidere hasn't got a wife. Okay, let's say even he has a wife. He's not got a child. Okay, he's got a wife and a child, but he's not got a job. So Chidere says, oh, the trip is going to be paid for by my cousin in the UK. My cousin is going to sponsor me. Okay, good. Your cousin can sponsor you. However, your average entry clearance officer will look at Chidere and say, this guy, he has nothing or very little to lose over staying in comparison to Babatunde, who has a good job at Data Bank, who has a house, who has a car. You see, so two people from same country, but different set of circumstances. So reasonable inference or logical inference or reasonable conclusions drawn will be totally different. They could even be brothers. It doesn't matter. They could be twins. They could be twins. Yeah, they could be
Yeah.
twins. Chidere and then Babatunde. But Babatunde has a job, stable income, decent job, doing reasonably well. Chidere hasn't got a job. He can't, he's not got regular income. So even his bank statement that he brings in support of his application is maybe money that was transferred in, I don't know, okay, the equivalent of, let's say, 1,500 or 2,000 $2,000 or 2,000 pounds transferred by maybe by say his brother. But the issue is this: Chidere has got money in his account, but the Home Office are not really looking at money in your account. They're looking at they're looking at the source of the money. The only application where the Home Office look at money in your account really is student visa. For that, if you can demonstrate that you have the money, the required amount within 28 days is granted. But with the visit visa and a family visa, especially visit visa, they're looking at regular source of income. So if Chidere is unemployed for a year and then 2 weeks before he applies for the visa, ask Babatunde to transfer 10,000 pounds into his account. Yeah, he's got a lot of money in his account all of a sudden. But the point is this: for the last 6 months or the last year, he's had no money coming to his account. So how has he all of a sudden got 10,000 in his account? And that's the mistake a lot of Africans make.
Yeah.
We think that because we've got a lot of money in our accounts, but that's not what they're looking at. The point is this: if it's about money in your account, ask yourself this. Look at the number of Russian billionaires who have been kicked out of this country since the Russia-Ukraine war started. I mean, Roman Abramovich, he owned Chelsea. He invested billions. He's been kicked out. So if they can kick out billionaires, what do you think 10,000 pounds in your account is going to impress them? Bearing in mind, even the 10,000 pounds, there's no guarantee you're going to spend it. You're only showing it. It doesn't mean you're going to spend it. Abramovich spent billions in this country. He actually spent it. He didn't show it. He invested it. Even that, they've got kicked out. Of course, you might say Russia, Ukraine, but the point remains the same. That at least people who spend money are kicked out, let alone you that you're showing a fraction. You understand? You showing it doesn't mean you're going to spend it. No, you're just showing it. It doesn't mean you're going to spend it. So it's not really the money. The money in your account is important. But beyond that is source of the money. Because money in your account could even be proceeds of crime. If you can't evidence, or if you can't provide an audit trail, we have a law here, Proceeds of Crime Act. That's why when you deposit money into your bank account, say somebody's earning £2,000 a month, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously, £100,000, enters the account, the bank would call them and ask them a question: how did this money? Where's what's the source of this money? Because they have a duty under Proceeds of Crime, because they want to check it's not drug money or crime money or terrorism related, all of that. So the money in your account is important, but even beyond that is the source, the audit trail. So Babatunde can provide an audit trail legitimately. Each month he has his pay slips. His pay slip will show paid on the 28th day of every month. Let's say it's paid on the 28th by Data Bank.
Yeah.
And he can evidence it. He would bring his employment contract showing, yes, he's contracted to be paid $500 a month. Now, Chidere, on the other hand, can't bring a contract. Even if he brings a contract from an employer, he cannot bring monthly payments, evidence of monthly pay, because even if he brought pay slips, the bank statements will not reflect those pay slips. So where is the money getting paid to? All of a sudden, he's got 10,000. So in some instances, Chidere might do himself more harm than good, because now on another day he might do himself more harm than good. So the deuce is this: make sure your money you have an audit trail.
Mm-hmm.
Have an audit trail. Make sure it's legitimate, because if you falsify anything and you found guilty, not guilty in a court of law, but according to the Home Office, they deem it that, that's a
Yeah.
10-year ban in some cases, 10-year ban from the
Wow.
UK. Even though you haven't been granted entry, it's a 10-year ban. And most of the European countries share data amongst themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them share. So there's a question on the application form that says, have you ever been refused a visa? First, you would ask the UK. Then it would ask, have you ever been refused a visa to any European country? Then any other country. You understand? So it's a bit like so visa refusal is like credit refusal. It's like
Okay.
going to Echo Bank, you refuse the loan. When you go to Merchant
Yeah.
Bank, it doesn't mean you get refused, but it's likely that you would also be refused, because
Mm-hmm.
and the same thing, if you are granted by Echo Bank and you go to Merchant Bank, it doesn't guarantee you'd be granted, but you stand a better chance. That's why when you have a visa, of course there are exceptions to the rules. I know okay, to the norm. I know people with Schengen visas who've been refused visas to the UK. I know people with with US and Canadian visas, multiple entry will be refused. I know people with Carta di Soggiorno, indefinite leave in Italy, and still be refused visas to the UK. So, but we're talking about generally now, just generally
Yeah.
the things, yeah, the do's. Another thing is this: have an have an itinerary. So let's say you come into the UK. Let's just say the Olympic Games were in London this year. Okay, hypothetically. And then
Yeah.
you get to Heathrow. You granted a visa, you get to Heathrow. Because you're not interviewed in Ghana or Nigeria, or wherever you're coming from, when upon arrival here, UK immigrations have the right to interview you.
Wow.
And every flight that lands, usually from Ghana, Nigeria, most African countries, they'll pick a random subset of people to interview randomly.
Hmm.
Now, bear in mind, the officer going to interview you has all your information on the system from what you put on the application form. So say the Olympic Games are being held this year in London, in the UK. Okay, in London. You say you're coming
Mm-hmm.
to watch 100 meters. You're coming to watch 100 meters. You're coming for the Olympics. Okay, you've stated on your form you're coming to attend. You're attending the Olympics to watch. Okay, yeah, you're just coming to attend the Olympics. Right, you come in to the UK. You're asked what event are you here to see? 100-meter final. Hello, do you have a ticket to a 100-meter final? No. Straight away, you're in trouble, because more than likely 100-meter final tickets, they get sold within hours of release. They get sold out. So you have a problem. you're already in trouble. You
Yeah.
understand? Because you haven't done your due diligence. You ought to have at least checked these things. So straight away, that the person at Heathrow or Gatwick or whichever uh,
Mm-hmm.
or whichever port that you've entered in is thinking, is this person really a genuine visitor? You
Hmm.
see, what, because if you're not able to establish that you're a genuine visitor, you're in trouble. On the other hand, if let's say you stopped and you say, oh, I'm here to watch the Olympics, so what event? Oh, 10,000 meters. Have you bought a ticket? Not yet. 10,000 meters, yeah, it's possible you can buy the ticket right up until the day of the event, because not many people are going to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But 100 meters sells out within hours, if not minutes. So somebody who hasn't done their due diligence, basically hasn't even researched what event they're coming to watch. How can you say you traveled from Nigeria to come and to watch the Olympics, and yet even the event you're coming to watch is sold out? Are you coming to watch it in a pub? Are you coming all the way here? Of course, it could be that you want to feel the fun atmosphere. It's like Champions League finals. Sometimes you won't get the ticket, but there are fan zones and around the stadium, the atmosphere, all of that. But if that's the case, you need to you must be credible. If that's the case, then you must speak confidently. Because if really that's the case, then you should have said that on your application. You understand? Of course, it's also
Yeah.
possible that there's also a counter argument that at the time of the application, there were tickets, and then when you went to buy the ticket, they were sold out. Yes, it's possible, but each man and his God or her God. One person at Heathrow might believe you, the next person might not believe you. But so the bottom line is this: in terms of visa applications, you need to demonstrate that you have an intention to go back, that you will not be a burden on the state. So somewhere to stay, accommodation is imperative. You need to have somewhere to stay, and yeah, primarily somewhere to stay, enough funds to cover your trip, and enough funds to get you back. Ideally, medical insurance, things like that. Basically, the whole idea is, you want to demonstrate that you're not going to be a burden on the state. If you can demonstrate that, you don't have a problem. I know Africans a lot, okay, whilst I'm here, let me put this out there. There's this misconception in Africa that you need an invitation letter. You don't need an invitation letter. You do not need an invitation letter. No, you don't. Because I say to people, look at the Chinese and the Asians who come here, tourists, who invites them? They come as tourists. All you need to do is book a ticket, have an itinerary of what you plan to do, and demonstrate that you have the funds, and demonstrate that you will go back. That's it. The main reason people use invitation letters, I think, it's because it gives them a focal point. By a focal point, I mean, if, let's say, Babatunde's sister is here, and she's getting married on the 15th of May, an invitation letter to the wedding gives Babatunde a focal point for his application, as in the purpose for his visit. He's attending his sister's wedding. But even if Babatunde's sister is not getting married, or Babatunde doesn't have a sister here, Babatunde can come here, visit the UK, and go back. He doesn't have a right to do that, but he can ask to come and visit the UK and go back. Obviously, the sister, if he has a sister here who's getting married, then that gives Babatunde a different angle in terms of he's coming to see his sister's. He's coming, he's coming. He's attending his sister's wedding. He might even be representing the family here. So now that's a different matter. Another thing is this. So with and another benefit of the invitation letter is that, say Babatunde's sister lives in the UK, she would have somewhere she stay, and she has accommodation, and she has space for Babatunde. Then Babatunde doesn't need to book anywhere. He would just say, "I'll be staying at my sister's place," and the sister would add a letter in support of the fact that, yes, my brother is coming, would be here for 2 weeks, attending my wedding on behalf of my family, and he's going to be staying with me whilst here. But if Babatunde's sister hasn't got accommodation, Babatunde's sister is not getting married, Babatunde's sister doesn't really add anything to the application, what's the purpose of the invitation letter? It serves no purpose. So because either way, Babatunde's sister can even sign a contract. Still, Babatunde has to still prove that he will go back. Unless, let's say, the sister is totally sponsoring it. Because of the sister, fine, she can sponsor it. But if it's your friend, the question is, why is your friend sponsoring your trip if you're over 18? You're an adult. You understand?
Yeah.
So, but if it's a family member, yes, then the family member can't sponsor it. The key thing, like I said, the key thing really is to tell the truth on the forms, because what is written is written. What is written is written and will be relied on as evidence. We see cases where people coming on visit visas say things that years they overstay, years later they sort themselves out, regularize their stay, but they've forgotten some of the things they've said. But the Home Office do not forget. 15, 20, sometimes 15, 20 years later, they pull up a copy of the form and send it to us and say, your applicant said this in Lagos, said this in Accra, said this here. So the key thing is to be truthful and make sure that you have good advice. That's it, really.
All right. Well, let's talk about working visa now. Working visa. I mean, we've heard some stories that some people, they go working visa from Africa, from Nigeria, from Ghana. But when they go to point of entry, they were being sent back for whatever reason. What do you think? I mean, with your experience as a learning person, what do you think could happen there?
There's a whole range of reasons or causes. So let's take a few of them.
Okay.
Firstly, Okay. Firstly, I'd say this. Sometimes, say, okay, so let's use Babatunde again and Chidere. So Babatunde is given sponsorship by ABC Care Home. At the time of the application, maybe ABC Care Home have a job. Babatunde comes in, there is no work. The Home Office, 3 months later, after Babatunde entering the UK, there is no work. So Babatunde has been in the UK 3 months. He's not carried out any work, or he's barely work, maybe 10 hours a week or 5 hours a week. Very minimum hours, 10, 15 tops. Now, Home Office carry out a compliance visit. Prior to Babatunde coming to the UK, Babatunde's sponsor, ABC Care Home, said, oh, we would allocate Babatunde 35 hours a week. On that basis, Babatunde is given sponsorship and a visa, a work permit to come to the UK. 3, 4, 5 months, Home Office carry out a compliance check and find out Babatunde, contrary to what his COS says, and that's the basis for the grant of his visa, he's actually barely working. If maybe in some instances not even working, or at most 10 hours a week. He can't provide pay slips, nothing, no evidence. So the sponsor's license gets suspended. Babatunde is given 60 days to find an alternative sponsor. If he doesn't find it and he cannot switch into any category, i.e. human rights, then Babatunde would have to leave the country. That's one such scenario. Another scenario is, it's very similar. Babatunde's employer, okay, so in this instance, Babatunde arrives with Chidere. ABC Care Homes, what they do is, or maybe they have work for one person, so 35 hours. But what they've done is they've split that, although they've assigned hours, they've assigned COS to both Babatunde and Chidere. In effect, they don't have the hours, and they split that 35 hours amongst 10 people. So you have a problem here where you have 3 people who should be working 35, 3 is 105 hours, but in effect, those 3 people are working 30 hours. So none of them is working even part-time, let alone full-time. So again, those 3 would be refused. Rarely would somebody come here with a fake COS, because the Home Office have the ability to check the COS. Before they grant the visa, they will check. So if it's a fake, they'll be able to tell. The fake would happen if the person was here and they were looking for a switch. Now that can happen where they can be assigned a fake COS by somebody who's a questionable, somebody of questionable character. And then when they make the application to the Home Office will come back to them and say, oh, the COS, it's fake. It's not authentic, or, But from outside, the problem that usually arises is upon arrival, there is no work. Basically, there simply is no work. Sometimes it's not the care home. Sometimes it's middlemen in there who carry out these things without the knowledge of even the directors of the company. So you have maybe 1 or 2 people in there. They have a plug or somebody in these organizations, and then they're the ones who. It's usually not the firms. It's somebody connected to the firms. There'll be a middleman in there somewhere. But or a middle person. That's what usually happens. So because you would never be sent back if you are here and you are working, unless your employer revokes your sponsorship, which would be on gross misconduct, or they would have to have a legitimate reason to revoke that. Why? Because you are working for them. You are making the money. You are rendering the service they need. So normally it's only when the person comes in, there's no work, and then Home Office carry out a compliance visit. Then following that, they're given 60 days, find a sponsor. If not, they have to leave, basically, unless they can make an alternative application.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about student visa. I know of someone that got a student visa to the UK for a master's, and at some point she's supposed to balance the school, probably like around £3,000. But the school, they said, is it that you pay the balance £3,000, or we submit your name to the Home Office and then they kick you out? I mean, someone that relatively paid close to like £12,000 remain £3,000 to pay for a master's. right? And what do you think will happen there? Can such person have a legal backup or back end from the legal institution in the UK, for that £3,000 of the thing, probably to make appointment to pay gradually. But the school anyway, they said no, she has to pay the £3,000.
Okay, so let's go to the start of this. Before Babatunde comes to the UK to study, Babatunde is aware of the fees. Babatunde must demonstrate he has sufficient money for the fees, sufficient
Sure.
money for his accommodation, maintenance is what we call it. So Babatunde is fully aware. Now, circumstances happen. Bear in mind, Babatunde's contract directly is between him and the school.
Sure.
Before Babatunde is awarded a place, bear in mind, other people all around the world are also applying for that place. So let's say the university turns down somebody from Saudi Arabia who has say 100,000 in their, but some of these Gulf states is their state fund that funds them. So they have trillions backing them. Yet because Babatunde is coming from Nigeria, an English-speaking country, the university gives him preference. So the university is lost out on potential income. You understand? Because it's like you selling a car. Babatunde says he's going to pay for it. But then, Chedere is going to pay for it. But he says, oh, and then you prefer to give it to Babatunde because maybe Babatunde lives in your state. Let's say so Babatunde lives in the same state as you in Netherlands. So you're in Amsterdam. Let's say you're in Amsterdam. Babatunde is in Rotterdam. And he says he's coming for the car. But Chedere says, oh, I'm in Amsterdam. I'll come for it. So you sell it. So you reserve it for Chedere. He pays 60% of it, and he's struggling to pay the 40%. Meanwhile, Babatunde was ready to transfer all the money to you. Now, this scenario you're talking about, normally, to be honest, you can reason with the school. However, the schools are a business. Ultimately, they are a business. They are not a charity. They are a business. Fundamentally, they are a business. Now, you are in Netherlands. If you go to your shop and you buy an item, or even online, an item that costs 10,000 euros. If you have 9,999.99 euros, that transaction will not go through, even though it's only one. Yes, sure. It will never go through. You can stand there for 10 hours until you add that shortfall. It wouldn't go through. Now, in this case, Babatunde is owing 3,000. Yes, we look at it from a compassionate level, but these people are businesses. That's why I gave you the analogy of buying something 10,000, even if you're 1 cent short, it won't go through. But Babatunde can usually reason with the school. But here is the problem. Babatunde has a limited time within which to graduate, because he has to graduate. If Babatunde wants to stay in the UK, he has to finish his course within a certain time, and then the university would submit his name to the Home Office so he can be granted a graduate visa, or he can apply for a graduate visa. By definition, so long as he's not graduated, he can apply for a graduate visa, and that's the problem. So these things, it's like, who goes to war without counting the cost? You are aware of the cost before you start. I accept that things happen, but these are businesses and these are contracts. These are legal contracts. At the end of the day, let's face it. If Babatunde has a job, right, with a care home, let's say Babatunde was working somewhere, and the care home makes projections that, or not even a care home, anywhere, he works anywhere, and they say, they're going to pay him 100 euros a week, and he works, but they've made the 100 euros based on projections of income coming in. Even if there's a shortfall, and they come to Babatunde and say that, listen, we have a shortfall, so we're going to pay you £50. Don't you think will Babatunde accept it? Of course not. He will sue them, because he'll say breach of contract, isn't it? I was contracted to pay £100, 100 euros or whatever the agreement was. Now with the schools, like I said, it's all down to the relationship you have with them, but ultimately they are businesses. Every now and again, you might find a compassionate person, but their businesses at the end of the day, they're simple. It's simple as that. Their businesses, so they are also interested
All right.
in recouping their money. That's it, really.
Okay. I've seen a lot of adverts coming through from Africa, especially, I mean, Nigeria as a case study, that you see some agents, they call themselves yeah, some kind of a visa specialist. And yeah, they will promise heaven and earth that when you get to UK, there's work waiting for you right away and stuff like that. I mean, how visible is that? Someone just coming in all the way from Nigeria, and the agent said, "Don't worry. By the time you get to the UK, work is there waiting for you." Is that possible?
If they come on a work permit, yes. If they come
No,
on a
not a
work
work
visa,
permit. It's on the visa,
no, they cannot
permit.
work. I mean, so that's
Yeah.
where people need to be enlightened. People need to read up. You are not allowed to work. So how
Hmm.
are you? How is the work available for you when you are not allowed to work?
Hmm.
It's a bit like saying to somebody, "I've got a car waiting for you to drive, but you don't have a license. How are you going to drive
License.
the car?"
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you can drive cars better than Lewis Hamilton. You don't have a license. You cannot drive. You are not allowed to drive without a license. The same thing. They visit visa, you are not allowed to work. So it doesn't matter
Hmm.
whether the agent has a brother who has a firm which can employ 1,000 people. So long as you come in on a visit visa, you are not allowed to work.
Yeah.
So straight away,
Is there any red flag that you will advise our people to take note of when they are dealing with agents?
any agent who tells you come on a visit visa, there's work
Mhm.
available. That's a red flag, because
Okay.
that's like saying that you are going to. It's like saying you are taking somebody to drive in Netherlands, but they don't have a license. How?
Mhm.
It's a lie. How are they going to drive without a license?
No, not
So
possible.
that, and most people who fall prey to these things, they usually want to come and work. You understand? So if you want to come and work, and by definition, the visa you coming in on does not allow you to work, surely that's the biggest red flag you can see. If they're bringing you on a work permit, that's different. Work permit allows you to work. The clue's in the name. Work permit, it permits you to work. But visit visa is clear. No work allowed, voluntary or whether paid or unpaid. None whatsoever. You can't even volunteer.
Hmm.
So that is the ultimate red flag. People don't need to look for any other red flag, just that one, in case they even forget others. Just one basic thing. Question: what visa are you bringing me on? Visit visa. If they say work, they mean underground work, i.e., cash in hand, those kind of places. But that's where people are subjected to all kinds of abuse, because you have
Hmm.
no rights. You have no rights. You are not allowed to
Okay.
work. So what rights do you have? Your contract itself is unenforceable. What contract do you have? You don't have the right to work. So on what basis do you have a contract? None. You understand? So then you are placing yourself in a pretty dangerous situation to be exploited, because you have no right to work. So even if you paid half of minimum wage, you just take it, because what are you going to do? You can't go to employment tribunal. You don't have the right to work.
Okay.
So
There's
that's the
this.
ultimate red flag. Yes.
Yeah, there's this trending stuff going on, especially in Nigeria, called Jackpot syndrome of a thing, and we see in time memorial that some families, they will dispose their house, their belongings, and their inheritance and stuff like that, all in the names that they want to travel abroad. Let's take UK as a case study. I mean, what advice will you give such people in case they're walking into your firm? They say, "Sir, I want to travel to the UK and I want to sell all my properties and stuff like that. I mean, please advise me."
I will never, ever, 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 ever. There are not enough evers advise anybody to sell their property. I mean, to sell their property, to come in on a visit visa.
Yeah.
Never. It's I mean, it's unthinkable. Now, if you say work permit, again, I will not recommend anybody, because it's a gamble. It might be
Mhm.
genuine. You come in,
Mhm.
let's be honest. Why do we take out insurance? Nobody wants their car to crash. But why do we pay insurance? Because you never know. You could drive 50 years and never crash. You could
Mhm.
drive 49 years and then the first day of the 50th year, you'd crash. Why do we take insurance? For a day, a rainy day. We don't know that. We don't want that rainy day, but we never know. Now,
Hmm.
you could come in on a work permit and get work. Thank you, God. What about if you come in on a work permit and then the employer, due to one reason or the other, the hours are not available? Like loads of people are in that situation as we speak here. Then you've
Yeah.
sold your property for what? To come and sit in the UK with no work. So if you don't find a switch, right, and you're given 60 days, and God, a miracle doesn't happen. I don't know where from, but a miracle doesn't happen, and you end up back in Nigeria. Not only have you are back in Nigeria, but this time you are homeless.
That's true.
So what? Why? You understand? I would never, never, never recommend anybody. Yeah, somebody would disagree. That's their personal choice. It's a
Mhm.
subjective choice. But me,
Yeah.
it's a question directed to me. Would I ask any of my family members or friends to do it? No way would I. Because if you get it free, which is what it's meant to be, then by all means go for it. Nothing to lose. I say to people, I'm not a gambler, but I take calculated risks.
Hmm.
Pragmatic approach
Approach.
based on logical reasoning, not sentiment. Everybody wishes to come to Europe and be a millionaire in the first year and go back to Africa. You understand? But that's, I said, pragmatic, pragmatic approach. So I wouldn't take I'm not a gambler. No, 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 no. I'm not a gambler. I take risks, but I take calculated risks. To
Okay.
sell your family property to come to Europe is a gamble. I mean,
Yeah.
even on a work permit, for me, it's a gamble. No,
Yeah.
I would
Sure.
never recommend that to anybody I know. It might work for
Sure.
some people. It might work for some people, but you have one life to live. You don't have 9 lives that you can gamble 5 and then have 4 left. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
If you say
Mm-hmm.
he has 3 houses, he or she has 3 houses, yeah, then the odds change slightly. Worst case scenario,
Mm-hmm.
they still have 2 houses left. So now that's a
Yeah.
calculated risk. I can understand somebody taking that risk. I wouldn't take it, but I can understand somebody taking it. But whereby they sell a family inheritance and everything, they have no, 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 absolutely not. I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, because the
Uh,
NHS and the reliable sponsorships, they don't even charge you anything.
wow.
You understand? And definitely
Okay.
not. And so even if an agent is involved and they're charging you for their services, is it to the
Mm-hmm.
tune of your family property? Wow. No, no, no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I mean, because you hear some couples, they will say they charge me £15,000 to be able to get my working visa to London or to UK, and the only thing they got is the property, so they want to sell it so as for them to be able to come into the UK. But even some of them, they will dispose it, but coming to the UK now is going to be a problem for them. Like you say, it's a gamble. Probably
Yeah,
maybe
it's a gamble.
the
When
Suez
you come
company
here,
maybe
yeah,
bankrupt or there's no work, there's
when
stuff
you
like
come here
that.
and the hours are not there, what do you do?
They're not there.
I mean,
Yeah.
the company, some people might come, the hours are there, but like I said, everybody, I always say this: every God is one, but everybody and their God are different. Because you know, somebody will get a miracle, another person, two people will be driving over speeding. One will get arrested and charged. Another one, the police will just warn you and say, "Don't do it again." It's the same offense, the same country, maybe same stretch of road, different outcomes. So
But coming to that God of a thing, this question might be a bit sensitive, but do you think Yeah, because we've got some people in Africa or in Nigeria, let me say, they will go to church, not to mosque, with their passport and pray that they want to get a visa to the UK, and they will raise it up and they start praying stuff like that. Does this prayer give them visa, or is it being legit? Put all your documents in the right position that gives you visa, or this raising up your passport of a thing gives you visa?
I
What's the
believe in
position?
God. I believe
Yeah,
in God. I believe
yeah,
in miracles. But even Bible
yeah.
says faith without works is dead.
Is that, yeah.
With all due respect, I don't think, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think anybody's gone to school, prayed the whole year, not learned anything, gone and sat in an exam and got an A. Okay. So however, if you go to school, study, do research,
Mhm,
do whatever
mhm.
assignments, whatever, and you pray, then I believe. So the point is this, like I said at the start, faith without works is dead. So yes, pray, by all means pray, but don't just pray, do something. Get your
Okay.
documents, because if it's only a matter of praying, what about the atheists? Most of the people who come to this country don't even believe in God. How about
Mm,
that? If it's just a matter of praying, then they shouldn't come here. They
yeah,
shouldn't, you understand? So
yeah,
laws work for everybody, whether you believe in God or not. The law of gravity works for everybody, atheist or believer, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, whatever religion, Jew. If you jump off a building, you come down. That's the law of gravity. You can pray all you want, you won't stay in the sky. You will come down. The only
mm,
difference is this. I believe, this is my personal belief, is this. The person who is praying and has a relationship with God, they will come down. They will not defy the law of gravity. However, God will protect them so they don't die. But they will come
yeah.
down. They won't stay in the air. No, they will not
Mm,
stay in the
mm,
air. So the same
mhm,
thing works here. Yes, by all means, pray, go to the mosque, go to church, go to
mhm.
the synagogue, but do that which you ought to do and then pray.
Okay. Okay then. All right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Charles. Now, do you still have more things uh, that you want to say, or that you want to advise our people in terms of getting into UK in a legitimate way? They
I'd
do
say
and
just,
don't.
yeah,
Yes,
just
please.
primarily do research. That's all I'd say. Research.
Okay. Yeah.
The number of times I've spoken to people more educated than myself. I've only got one degree. I've had people in the office with 2 master's degrees, and yet they didn't carry out a basic check to even check the company, whether it's even a
Mm,
registered company, a company's house. So say they are
mm,
switching from one sponsor who didn't give them work to another, and
mhm.
they've not even carried out a basic check. People with 2 master's degree, I don't even have a master's. Like, my friend, you are more educated than me. You understand? I might know the law, but you are more educated. I don't have a master's. People with 2 master's degrees, they haven't carried out a basic due diligence requirement. You understand?
Research.
Yet,
Yeah.
yet, yet they have trust in a stranger to hand over £8,000, £10,000, £12,000. Yet they have not carried out a basic check. And two,
Mm,
seek legal advice. The number of times we would deal with cases where they could have saved themselves thousands by just getting accurate legal counsel
mm.
in the name of saving money. It's a bit like buying a Ferrari and you say you won't buy, you're not going to take insurance in Africa. Ah, you buy the latest Ferrari, but you say you're not going to take
Yeah.
insurance. And you pay for the
Yeah.
Ferrari. Surely you're going to crash, or somebody's going to crash into you. A little
Sure.
crash, a little damage, and it'll cost you so much to fix that Ferrari. That's what a lot of people do. They'll go, hit the wall, then come back. Sometimes it can be repaired. Sometimes too, it's irreparable damage, and they've lost thousands when they could just have spent a fraction of that money, sought legal advice, and a solicitor or a lawyer would have told them, maybe wait, don't do this, do it this way. Go, just I say to this, who gives themselves an injection without seeking medical opinion? Yet why would you go submit an application without legal advice? It's just not. I'm not an agent. Qualified legal advice. If I want to know about Saudi Arabian law, I won't go and ask somebody who is licensed to practice in Nigeria or Ghana, unless they have license from Saudi Arabia as well. Because some of the laws might cross over, but some of it will be unique. A lot of it will be unique to Saudi Arabia. So again, if I have a problem with my eye, I don't go and see a dentist, or I don't go and see a dentist. A dentist knows about medicine, yes, but it's not for the eye; it's for the teeth. So if I'm going to see a lawyer, I'll see somebody who. If I'm going to UK, I'll seek somebody qualified to advise on UK law. So seek legal advice. Don't go make wrong mistake and then go make a mistake. Sometimes you can come back and fix it, but a lot of the time, even if you can fix it, it'll cost you way more. Because just as it's cheaper to take insurance before a crash, when you crash and you call an insurance company, they won't even insure you.
No.
Because they know you're coming to claim straight away. And if they insure you, per chance, one or two insure you, the premium that will be quoted, you would remember it for the rest of your life. You understand? So it's cheaper to take out insurance when you don't have a crash than to crash and then start looking for a quote for somebody to insure you. So so two things: do your due diligence and seek legal advice. That's all. And if it's too good to be true, do a bit more research. And definitely, this is just me myself, I would never advise anybody to sell up everything they have and come to Africa. No. Sorry, and come to UK. UK is not heaven.
Okay, and before we go, let me just ask this question here, because it's a question that popped up. They said, presently as we speak right now in the UK, how long can you legally stay in the UK before you qualify to be a British citizen?
Okay, so if you come in on a work permit and you carry on working and you meet all your conditions, 5 years to settlement. Then after settlement, it's 1 year for 5 years, then you go for indefinite leave, which is settlement. Then after that 1 year, you go for British citizenship. If you come in on a work permit, if you come in as a spouse of a British national, it's 3 years it's 3 years, basically. Yeah, but most are coming in. But for work permit purposes, it's 5 years, then 1 year indefinite leave on top, so 6 years. If you come in as a visitor and you overstay, unless there's human rights, say you don't have a child or anything, just you yourself, nothing else, it's 20 years. Then you get that's why I was laughing. 20, hold on, let me finish. 20 years to get limited leave. Then you stay on limited leave for 10 years to indefinite leave. Then 1 year on top, so 31 years to settlement. At best, 26 years to citizenship, or worst case scenario, 31 years. That's if there's no human rights, i.e. a child or anything involved. Yes.
Wow.
So it's best to come in on a work route, but you can come in as a student. So come in as an undergraduate. Okay, let's say undergraduate, 3 years, masters, 1 year, finish post-study. Now, the thing is, student visa doesn't count towards settlement. However, if you are here 10 years legally, you can apply on long residency. So somebody who say came here for sixth form, 2 years, university, 3 years, depending on the course. If it's medicine, then even they're almost on 10 years. But your standard course, 3 years, so that's already 5 years. Then masters, another year, that's 6 years. Then 2 years post study, that's 8 years. If they get a work permit for 3 years, they're already there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then another question here now is that when you have a child in the UK, does that automatic guarantee you a permanent stay in the UK?
Okay, so it depends on who's having the child. So let's use two scenarios. Babatunde came in with Ola on a work permit. Then they revoke their work permit, so they become illegal. They don't find a sponsor. Babatunde and Ola have a baby. You can only bequeath that which you have. You can't give what you don't have. So if you don't have status, your child also hasn't got status. So
Okay.
all three of them would have no status. So, however, if the child lives here for 7 years, then the child can become settled. The child becomes settled. So because of that, Babatunde and Ola can then apply to regularize their stay based on that. On the other hand, if Babatunde comes in and let's say he overstays, he's got no papers, but he meets Ola and Ola is settled, or either Ola is settled or Ola is British, and they have a baby, then because of the child, Babatunde can apply for limited leave based on human rights because of the child. Because if the Home Office asks Babatunde and Ola to leave, they have to take the child. Well, Ola knowingly entered into a relationship with Babatunde, even though she knew he didn't have papers, but the baby is innocent. So because of the baby, Babatunde will be given 2.5 years. And then from there, he can carry on. Yeah.
Wow. Now I see that the law there in the UK, the immigration law in the UK is quite different from some European Union.
It is significantly different to a lot of European countries. Yeah, it's significantly different to a lot of European countries. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Now, any advice for just a kind of general advice again, and then
general
after that,
advice,
maybe you give your details, how people can reach you, contacts and stuff like that. And then the next session of this topic of this program will be on TikTok, and then I will, put a date there as well.
Sure. General advice is the same. Carry out due diligence. Money, it's difficult. Money is not easy to come by. So don't allow somebody, don't make it easy for somebody to dupe you. You can allow yourself to be duped. People are not robbed for their money. They are duped or deceived. I've never heard anybody call me and say, I was robbed at gunpoint. Then it becomes a criminal case. You report it to the police. You were duped or deceived. So the key thing is this: to carry out your due diligence. At least, if you're not sure, seek legal advice. Qualified legal advice, not somebody who heard somebody say something at a pub or no. Professional legal advice. That's all I'd say. That's the best. It's better. You see, before you buy a car, if you don't know about cars, you get a mechanic to go and check it out if it's not a brand new car. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's not a brand new car. You usually get somebody who knows about cars to go and have a look at it. Listen, because somebody who knows about cars, when they hear the sound of the car, they'll know whether there's something wrong with it or not. They don't even need to open the engine. Just the sound of the engine, they'll say, let's check this part, this part of the engine, this component. The same thing there. Get legal advice, carry out your due diligence, and then get legal advice. And don't sell your property if you only have one left. If you only have one property, definitely not your family inheritance. It's a gamble not worth taking. It might work for some people, but you have one life. On the balance of probability is not something I would do. Okay, now in terms of my details, I'm okay. Like I said, I'm Carlos Addison. I can be reached on, if you're in the UK, it's 07388 402 199. I repeat again, 07388 402 199. If you're calling from outside the UK, it's +44 7388 402 199. Our offices are based in Oxford and Northampton. However, we work all over the place. We have clients in Saudi Arabia, even Somalia, all over the place. These days, things are done online. Even some tribunal hearings are done online, are done remotely. So I don't need to see the person face to face. 90% of our clients, we don't even see face to face. It's usually the cases that go to court that generally we meet them at trial, or if it's a criminal case, then by all means, we're going to go police station. So we would see them either way. But so distance is not a barrier. Like I said, seek legal advice. Don't just go and hand your money over to somebody. Don't go and gift your money indirectly to somebody. That's all I'll say. Okay, thank you all, and God bless you. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks a lot, Mr. Carlos Addison from RS Solicitors. Thanks a lot for honoring
My
this
pleasure.
invitation. Thanks a
My
lot. We really
pleasure.
appreciate it. We really appreciate you as well. Guys, please, if you've never followed this platform, please kindly do that. Help us subscribe to this platform at African Black Gold TV, because I've got a problem here. And what is the problem? My wife said, any live, that I draw, if no one subscribe, she's gonna kick me out of the house. So please, you are one of the subscribers. Kindly subscribe to this channel, please. Thanks a lot. Please, we'll be having our solicitor, that's Mr. Carlos Addison. We'll be having him also on our TikTok live, which will post the dates and the time. We'll post it very soon on this same platform. And then you guys gonna come and ask your questions, because that platform is it's kind of established platform already, where we have a lot of people that comes in live daily, so, and that is at nigeriancrime.com. It's on TikTok. We'll be having Oga also on that platform. The dates and everything will be slated, and definitely, you're gonna have a space to ask your question. Thanks a lot, sir. One more time, Mr. Carlos Addison.
Pleasure.
Till
Thank
I
you.
come your way, guys. Next time, I'll say thanks a lot, and I appreciate you guys. Adios. Thank you, sir. Yes.